Just when I thought I couldn't find my way out, yeah, I searched the God in me to find my way out. I know it can seem way out, but the Creator flows to and through me from way out. I'm talking way out, yeah. See, if you believe in the God in you, it's a better place. Creating the force and the power to live a better life. Know that love and joy and peace is one in all of the same space. That you were chosen just like God. Your energy. That's right. Only you can make the change. Share your energy. Shine so bright from darkness to light. From darkness to light. Yeah. And you'll find your way out. Oh, it won't seem way out. The power of God will flow through you from way out.
Welcome. This is a Precognosis, and welcome to the new channel. We have the Alchemizing Energy channel. This is a new channel that we are using to discuss spiritual issues when it comes to divination, and also different methods of like spirituality, African tarot, different things like that. So, we're going to be interviewing different people when it comes to their divination styles, anywhere from tarot to playing cards, to all different types of that stuff. People that can see, psychics, all that stuff. So I had started a series with Baba Falakun, Awo Falakun, who has been doing like a series. We're on our like third part of the series where he is teaching divination. So this is the third part, but we're going to play part 2 as well. But we're going to start with the third video and then kind of go back, because this is talking about the initial opening prayer, how to even start divination to begin with. So how do you start divination? What is it about? Like all those things in Ifa. So did you have any questions, Laura, before we get going?
Well, I want to first.
Your mic went out. It's muted.
Well, first I want to say, shout out to Naga World Order, Naga World Nexus. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, we here in this Precognosis, man, trying to kick the channel back up, build this channel up, you know what I'm saying, and bring y'all more spiritual, more of a spiritual essence of things, and not necessarily such as, I don't want to say scientific, because this is science, but it's not a Western science outlook. So we want to bring that, because this is most definitely part of our culture, and it's an important, integral part of our culture, something that we should never let go, because it has sustained us over millions of years. And I'm saying millions of years. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I really appreciate you and Mama for bringing this type of information out. A lot of people scared to do what you're doing. A lot of people think it's taboo. Me personally, I'm one of those people who believe that it's the age of Aquarius, which means this is the age of technology and information, and all secrets must be revealed. So there is nothing hidden anymore. The only thing hidden is your will and your intent to learn. Right, that's about the only thing that's hidden in secret these days. But everything else is pretty much out in the open, and anything there is to know is out there on the books for you to know. It's just, are you willing to go on the search? Are you willing to take the journey? What they say, the journey of 1,000 miles start with one step. You see what I'm saying? Right. So that's what we're doing here today, man. So,
and if you do get a chance, check out the Precognosis. Please subscribe to the channel. It's a very new, brand spanking new channel. We only got 1 subscriber right now. We are trying to lift up our subscribers. Main thing is because it's, like I said, my personal channel, it goes through so many different broad subject matters that a lot of times, YouTube, the people, the audience, YouTube gets confused with it, and I have been getting kind of attacked because I'm of my political views. So I wanted to separate the spirituality from the politics. It should be separate anyway, even though politics and spirituality kind of do sometimes merge. As we know, we got this whole war going on with Iran, and a lot of that stuff is spiritual. But the whole objective is, okay, so what do we do in these spiritual times? And I think that divination is something that could help out people that are experiencing things. So without further ado, I would like to just just show the video so we can just kind of get the conversation going. We're going to pause it every here and there if you have
All
any
right.
questions. All right, so let's kind of go.
Before you start, I just want to put out this disclaimer, okay? We not racist. Ifa not racist. African spirituality is not racist. So, we don't really want to hear about the tone of his skin, and y'all don't think or y'all don't feel like he's. We don't really care about none of that. If you really follow African spirituality, then you know that truth is our only ally, and we do not turn from truth, no matter where it comes from. No matter where it comes from. So you can learn anything. Even a broke clock is right twice a day. You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, man, let's jump right into it.
Okay. At the beginning of divination, there's a specific prayer that you give to open up the divination ceremony, and he is going to break that whole thing down. Welcome to the show, Baba.
Listen, let me say Agua Ato, blessing of long life. Cabo, everybody welcome. Adupai Ori Egun, we thank the ancestors for their wisdom. I also would like to say Ire Lona Lafia excuse me, peace on earth. We need a whole bunch of that for sure. I want to thank Ia for having me on her program. We're doing a little series of 8 segments on the fundamentals of divination and Ifa. Yeah, to be honest with you, it was prompted by some of the, I want to say foolish statements, but that's judgmental. Let's say some of the questionable statements I've heard, especially lately. And also, we're getting a whole bunch of information from AI, which is, I will make a judgment because that's not really a person, but AI's take on Ifa is embarrassing. So let's try and take a dive into the real deal, so to speak. I would like to speak today on the opening prayer for divination. I'd like to give a little context of that, before we start with the specific words, if you don't mind. The prayer for divination is the same as the daily prayer. I get up every morning, I say certain words, and when I do divination, I repeat those same words. Okay. So the morning prayer is a little different for everybody, and there's room for variation and creativity, but it has a basic format, which I'm going to go over in a minute, and a basic function too. So the format is the first segment, let's say, of that prayer is to invoke the 6 directions. It's really calling the world into being. It's a reflection of the Ifa concept of Ilaranipin. Whenever you see the word Arumila, it's almost always followed by the praise name Ilaranipin, Arumila Ilaranipin, Ibikiji Oladumre, meaning the prophet Arumila is the witness to creation, and his mystic vision brings reality into being. In other words, we believe that creation is co-creation. That's the subject we'll get into down the road, but we're going to move forward in let's baby steps, little increments. So the first part of the prayer is to place ourselves in the world. There's a Yoruba proverb that says, wherever a owl sits, he's facing east. One of the many misconceptions, one of the many differences between traditional African Ifa and the way it's commonly practiced in diaspora is the top of the tray. Ifa Quiz, what's the top of the tray? What direction is that, Ian? Do you know the top of the tray?
The issue, the actual picture of issue.
Well, no, that's not what that is, and I'm asking the direction of the top of the tray.
I don't know. Is it east?
Yes, good. A plus. A lot of people say north, and my response is no. North is for AAA maps. Odu Ifa says we first greet the east when the sun rises and praise to the creator for creation. People commonly think that the face on the top of the tray is Eshu. That's not correct. It's Olu, which is a synonym for God, the creator. The Eshu is the single Ikin that you put on the face of God to represent Eshu. Also, it's really important, in my opinion, the Ifa tray itself. In traditional Ifa, you use a circular tray if you have an Odu pot, and you use a square tray if you don't. There's no judgment. One's not better, but it's an indicator. If you have a circular tray, it means that the women of Iami and Ogboni have given you authorization to do initiations. People give themselves the title of Olu. There you go. That's a nice one. So let's look at that a minute. So the top is Olu. That's a short version of the word Olorun. Orun is the invisible realm. Olorun is the owner or the creator of the invisible realm. So you have masculine and feminine polarity. You see you have a female figure with breast. You see that on the right side. The right side is the is the masculine side. So when you have a feminine figure on the masculine side of the tray, that represents yin-yang balance. The male figure is on the left side. That again represents yin-yang balance. The other three faces represent the spirits of the directions. We'll get into that in a moment. Let's see. Those bottom two figures. Okay, so you've got male, female, male, female. So you've got the yin-yang polarity between the different elements of Ifa there. That's very nice. I haven't seen that exactly like that, but it's very nice. And you have when someone is sitting on a stool like he is on the bottom right side of the tray, holding an oroke, that's a tapper, that indicates the chief diviner for a community. And so the circular tray indicates whoever was using this tray has an Odu pot. The title of Oluwo, people give it to themselves, and that's fine. But in traditional Yoruba culture, you're given that title by Ogboni. People say there are no women in Ogboni. I'm sorry, that's just not true. I'm going to say it again, not true. Ogboni is made up of the grandmothers and grandfathers of the community. There's 3 chiefs for Ogboni, 2 men, 1 woman. The woman is the senior chief. The one man is the chief of Orisha, and the other man is the chief of Ifa. So it's Araba and Aplana, and then the Ogboni Oloria. There's another name for that, but I don't remember. But in any case, the title Oluwo has 2 functions in traditional Yoruba culture. The first is, if during Ogboni there's a dispute that needs divination to settle, the chief of Ogboni will ask someone, doesn't matter who, a senior diviner in the room, to do divination. In that moment, that person becomes Oluwo, meaning Olu. It's from the Elysian O-Ilu Awo, meaning the spirit of the drum of the mystery. It's a reference to a chieftaincy title within Ifa. And Oluwo also has permission from the Ogboni to do initiations representing the lineage of the community, so it's interesting, there's been some misconceptions about that. Ogboni is Their first function is to monitor the behavior of the Oba. In traditional Yoruba culture, it's taboo for the Oba to have an opinion.
What is the Oba?
Say again?
What is the Oba?
Oba is like, it's badly translated to mean king, but it would be the senior political person within the community is called Oba. There's 21 of them in traditional Yoruba culture. One of the biggest points of contention between Africa and the diaspora is there's literally thousands of people that call themselves Oba. That's the equivalent of me calling myself the King of England. I can do that, but I'm going to sound silly. So the initiation for Oba is a 90-day ceremony, and if you haven't been through it, you would know. Believe me. So you just don't. The idea of giving yourself titles represents cultural appropriation, in my opinion. And in the notion of some things like Oba, Ogboni, no, it's taboo for an Oba to belong to Ogboni. Ogboni monitors the behavior of an Oba. So it's like the president of the United States being the chief justice of the Supreme Court. Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, that's an interesting idea. It just doesn't work. So we need to think about those things in my home.
One quick question is that with this tapper thing, now someone said that this tapper is meant to be almost like a phallic symbol in this being a womb. And when you tap on it, it's like to simulate copulation. Is that true?
Yeah, it's sort of true. It's close. The tapper is a phallic symbol, and the tray is the female reproductive organ, right? The seeds of the Ekin represent the seeds of the womb. The marks of the Odu on the tray represent the genetic foundation of whatever it is that you're creating. You understand? And so the tapper itself, I don't know if you noticed, but at the bottom of the tapper, there's a hole, and that hole has a little clapper in it. So the tapper itself is both male and female component. The tapper itself is traditionally has a woman carved into it. All of these things represent yin-yang balance, male-female balance, the stasis created by equity, it's called. So if you take any Odu, okay, and you can do this with, get a little Crayola there, you can do this little exercise for me. You can take any Odu, all right, take one, guess it. I mean, tell me what it is. An Odu, write it down. Do you know the marks of Odu? I can call one off if you want.
Please excuse me. I was like on mute talking.
What you got there? Did you write an Odu down?
Iwanrin Torah.
Oh. Owanrin
Otora.
Torah?
Yeah.
Otora. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Owanrin Otora. So now what I want you to do is I want you to write next to it, every time you see a single line in Owanrin Otora, I want you to write a double line to the right of it. And every time you see a double line in Owanrin Otora, I want you to do a single line. So just write that up. That's known as the opposite Odu. In other words, Osa is not the opposite of Ogunda. Obara is the opposite of Ogunda. All right. So if you take, and so the point is that when,
one. So it would be like
the opposite of Owanrin Otora is Irosu Nika.
Let me pause it real quick because I want you guys to see this because I wasn't able to show what right. So Otora is the opposite of Otora. All right, so what he's explaining is, all right, so let me show you what it looks like. All right, so this is how it looks on the Ifa tray, right? So when he throws the Opele, it'll come out kind of like this, you know. So that's Owanrin on the left and Otora on the right. And so the opposite. So this is the Odu, and the opposite is the answer, right? So in this thing, you'll see 1, 2, 1, 1, and then on the left hand side, and then 2, 2, 1, 1 on the right hand side. The answer to the Odu is that in reverse. So the problem is this. The solution is the opposite. So that's what he's pretty much explaining. You clear on that? What Lavelle? You there, Lavelle? I mean Laurel. Sorry, Lavelle. Laurel. Okay. Well, for those that are just to
No, I'm here. My computer's tripping. I don't know why the button don't work.
Right. So what he's explaining is that okay, you have the Odu and how it's written. Like so, when he throws the Opwele, this is the problem, or this is the out what the situation is. The answer to the situation is this in reverse. You understand what I'm saying?
You say what now? Go back. What'd you say?
Okay, so this is the Odu Owanrin Otur. Okay, that's what we were talking. He said, "Show it. Give me an Odu." So the thing is Owanrin Otura. So Otura is on the left, and Owanrin is on the right. So that is the Odu that say it comes out for the person, right? So the answer to that Odu would be Erosun something else. I forget. He said it was Erosun something else. So it's the the opposite of that. So if I showed you on the right is Owanrin, that is the markings for Owanrin. 2211. That's the marking for Owanrin. So that's the problem. The solution is Erosun. Do you understand? Of Owanrin. And then you have Otora 1211, and the solution for it would be that the Odu, whatever the marking for that in reverse. You understand what I'm saying? So he's about to break it down. So I just wanted to show you what that Odu was that I was talking about. Owanrin Otora. So he broke it down that the opposite is the thing. So he said, okay.
Torah? Yeah. Oh, Torah. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Owanrin Torah. So now what I want you to do is I want you to write next to it, every time you see a single line in Owanrin Torah, I want you to write a double line to the right of it. And every time you see a double line in Owanrin Torah, I want you to do a single line. So just write that up. That's known as the opposite Odu. In other words, Osa is not the opposite of Ogunda. Obara is the opposite of Ogunda. All right. So if you take, and so the point is that when,
1, so it would be like
the opposite of Owanrin Otura is Erosun Ika.
All right, so I'm about to show you that one so you can see how it looks. All right, so right, Otora is the opposite of Otora is Owanrin is Erosu, and the opposite of Otora. Okay, so let me share. All right, let me share it real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so if this so this is the Odu that came out, right? So saying that you're in front of a Babalawo, and this is the Odu that comes out, right? Owanrin Otor, right? So you see it's 1, 2, 1, 1. Do you guys see that? And then on that one side is, so this is Owanrin right here on the right hand side, and on the left hand side is Otora. So the answer to that Odu is Erosun Ika. So now do you see?
No. I don't see how it's opposite.
He might have had the wrong one. It's, well, basically,
Go back to the other one.
no, he did. He said it was so Ika. That might not be the right one. So basically it's the same marking, but it's the opposite. So you'd have 2, 1, 2, 2.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
So
and then
2,
the other
1,
one
2,
would be
2.
1 1 1 2 2.
2, 1, 2, 2. Yeah. 2, 1, 2, 2. 1, 1, 2, 2. So if you look at this one, it's 2,
So
2, 1, 1.
the left column opposite will be 2 1 2 2, and then the other column will be 1 1 2 2.
Right. So do you see how it looks? So it's kind of it might look confusing. So if you look at this one,
No, I mean I understand that the answer to these are the opposites of their polarities.
right. So this one is
Yeah,
this is the problem, and then this Odoo right here is the solution. So and it's basically the same Odoo in reverse, but it's like a different name for that Odoo. So the markings are that thing in reverse. So that's a polarity. So you have like the male and female. So you have the male female polarity.
right.
So the Odoo is like almost like a call and response, is talking to each
Yeah,
other.
it's a binary. It's binary.
Right. So the moment you get your Odoo, you already have the answer.
Yeah, because it's the opposite.
Right. Okay, so let's go.
Is Ika.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, Ika.
Okay, so watch. You're going to be amazed. Now I'm going to ask you to count the number of double lines and single lines on the page, but before you do that, I'm going to tell you the answer. It's 8 single lines and 8 double lines. Now count them and see if I was right.
Yes.
And how did I know that? The reason I knew that is when you take any Odoo and mix it with its opposite, the total is always 8 single lines and 8 double lines. That's called stasis or balance or suru in Yoruba, caused by when you take a problem that represents a lack of balance in the universe and you stabilize it with its opposite Odoo. That's the art of divination, knowing the solution to a problem in a particular Odoo.
That's in science they call that superposition.
Superposition.
In Western science, that way he just explained is called superposition. When
Okay.
an atom or a particle exists in 2 states at the same time, it's both opposite and it's both positive and negative, or in reality and out of reality. I mean, it's the only way to make you understand it is just like, you got solid and then you got the shadow, or the shadow and then you got the solid, or you got a solid then you got energy. You solid is you can't go through, energy you can't. You know what I'm saying? So it's what he talking about is superposition. I want to.
Well, and it's interesting with that number 8. Isn't 8 the number of completion also?
Right, and affinity. And so that's why I'm gonna bring up this what that actually means. Like so it says superposition. Quantum superposition is a fundamental principle in quantum mechanics where physical systems like an electron or a photon exist in multiple states or configuration simultaneously until it is measured. The superposition allows quantum particles to, for example, exist in a combination of 2 different positions or energy states. When a measurement is performed, the system collapses into just one of these possible states. Now, listen to what I just said, and translate it into what the Ifa is, what we learned about Ifa. And that's why I keep saying I don't want to really separate it from science, because it's so close that it's hard to dismiss it as science, because when he's talking about, I recognize the superposition. You see what I'm saying? Now most people might not recognize that because they don't study quantum physics. I do. So when he and that's why when he went off into the other stuff about plasma, I totally understood. And it's only because I'm an advocate of both worlds. So that's interesting that he like they dealing with superposition. Our ancestors' divination system is dealing with superposition before Western science ever knew about it. Before they ever knew about it, they just don't call it quantum superposition. Oh my God! And he got it right here in front of us. I didn't even see that because I had clicked off with her and went on Google and just typed in superposition to give up the to get a definition. And now when I click back over to the screen, that's what was sitting in front of the screen. I'm like, what the hell?
Right. So and if you look at this, diagram in E5, when you look at the actual Odu, whoever created this was amazing to do this. But if you look at this, right? So you look at the top, you have Agbe, and at the bottom you have Oyekun. So Agbe is 111, 1111, 1111. That's 8. 2222, 2222, 8.
I like this.
So he says that
like
any feeling we're gonna have exactly 8 things. 8
Can you send me this symbol? Can you send me this?
Yeah.
I like that. Like so what I'm looking at, I mean obviously it's the Odu, but that's clearly the flower of life. I mean, did they do that on purpose? Like they made it into the flower of life on purpose? Like, why did they do that?
Well, there's a connection from the macrocosm to the microcosm. So they're showing how everything it is connected, even down to the smallest of things.
Oh man, so check it out.
Even like a cell,
I'm a pattern recognition type person.
Yep.
I'm a pattern recognition type person, right? So if you look at these little balls, right, in the center, in the very center, let's start off with 1, and then right in front of it, it goes 2, and then it goes 3. You see that? It goes 1, 2, 3, right? And then it goes back to 1 again. You see that? And then it goes to 2. You see that? And then the next iteration is 1, 2, 3. That's wow. Wow. I mean, dude, like that's the same way our DNA looks. This is the way DNA looks when you look down from it, like from a top down position. It kind of looks like this. This is also looks like a atom configuration.
Wow.
It looks like an atom configuration of where electrons are and where the proton and I mean, oh, he made this. Did he make this?
I found this. No, I found that. That's been going on for a while. That's
like this wild crazy. I'm just saying, like people, this shape right here, the shape, the numbers, everything that's going on. Like I mean, like if you notice the 5, the pentagram on the
so what they're saying. So this ENE5 made this. A woman made this in her. So what it is that she's 16 mother Odus expressed through a cube, hypercube, 256 vortexes of hyperdimensional space. So that's what this is representing. How the Odu E5, what it represents.
damn.
So yeah. And then like he said, the Merkabah, you see that actual Merkabah.
Yeah. I mean, no, you see everything in it. And, like if you bring up the flower of life, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. When you bring up the flower of life, man.
He talks about Terrence Howard. That Terrence Howard.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And that's what I'm saying. Like that's the next level. And like to me, it's almost in some ways even more complex. It's even more complex than the flower of life. Or maybe I don't know. Like let me send you this. Let me send you this real quick so you can pop it up on the screen. I appreciate that. Like that's pretty amazing. We in precognosis, right?
To make it a secret, they want to keep it a secret. But the thing is, it's not a secret. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. Let's go. Let's play some more.
No, it's not.
All right. So you take all, maybe the obvious example, the opposite of Ogbe is Oyeku, the opposite of a Awori is Od, and on and on. All right. So okay, so the point is that the Odu that you mark on the tray becomes the seed of the solution to the problem that you're addressing. All right. And so when you want to give birth to the problem solution, you tap the tray with your iroke, your tapper, and then you recite the Oriki Ire in the verse that has come up. All right, the Oriki Ire is the invocation for transformation. People are not aware, for the most part, that those Oriki exist, but every single verse of Odu Ifa has an Oriki Ire, which is chanted to elevate the consciousness of the person who has come to you for assistance. And so it's incumbent upon us as Awo to know those Oriki, to be able to chant them, to be able to sing them in a way that elevates consciousness. And it's also true that as an Awo, we go into possession by Elah. We'll talk about that next week. But by going into possession with Elah, we then have the ability to go into possession with the Ashe of the Odu that's on the tray in front of us. All right. So if you go back to that previous picture with the bowl, can you go to that? So the bowl is on the back of a bird representing Iami. The bowl holds the Ikin. The bowl holds the seeds of the birthing process. Boy, there's a coincidence. The birds represent the mothers, seeds, womb, penis, transformation, procreation. That's the symbolism, absolutely. And and then the last thing I want to say about all these things, if you turn the tray around, you'll see a little notch carved in the bottom of the tray. Have you ever noticed that? A little circle about the size of a silver dollar, maybe a little bigger. Yeah, have you seen that on the back of a tray? Some of the trays made in the diaspora don't have. Yeah, but the trays from Africa all have a little notch in the back. And the reason for that is every June 23rd, the traditional Yoruba New Year's, the women of the village, the men of the village sit, the male diviners in the village sit on the mat with the tray upside down and the notch facing up. Then the women of Iami dance in front of them, and they pour a little yam powder into that little notch as a way of feeding the tray. If a woman has an issue with any of the men, they won't feed the tray. And if any woman in the village doesn't feed your tray, you're not allowed to do divination for the upcoming year. Just like they do it here in the diaspora, right? Oh, wait a minute. They don't do so much, not so much. But
No, they don't. No, they don't. I never don't. They don't do that here.
Not so much. But that is the tradition. And the truth is that rarely happens in public. If a woman has an issue with a man, she'll go to the elder mother and father in the community and say, look, this guy's being a jerk. Can we settle this before it comes time to feed their tray so we don't have any problems? And that's usually a pretty good motivation for someone to feed their tray. The last thing I want to say before I go into the daily prayer is this. No, a couple of things here. First thing I want to say is the daily prayer and the prayer for opening divination is the same. All right, it's the same prayer. We get up in the morning, we greet the orishas and the things that we have in our shrine, in our personal shrine. All right, that's why everybody's morning Iba prayer is a little different, because everybody has a different set of. Not everybody, but there's a variation in what people have received. Some people in traditional Yoruba culture have one orisha, others have 20, and so you Iba each thing that you have. Then you Iba your elders, you Iba your ancestors, you Iba Ifa, and then Iami. So it's like waking up in the house and saying good morning to everybody. All right, but we reaffirm that process when we do divination. Okay. We're kind of acknowledging what spirits we're connected to. Hopefully that makes sense. So and I was talking now about the format of the daily prayer, of the prayer for divination. So the first part is the 6 directions. Then we invoke the ancestors, the collective spirit of the ancestors, the Egun Gun. And then we invoke Ori, our consciousness. And then we invoke Eshu, Ochosi Ogun. And then at that point, there's a significant shift in the prayer from person to person. After Ochosi, we invoke the orishas that we have, that we've received, that we've been initiated into. And then at the end of the prayer, we praise Orunmila if we have Ifa, and then we praise Iami whether we have it or not. And then at the very end of the prayer, if we're doing the morning prayer, we say the words Odaraji, 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 and that literally means Odaraji. It means forgive me from having to do the offering. In other words, it's not practical to get up every morning, do divination, and then have to go out and feed a goat. That just doesn't work. So the divination process for the morning involves the speaking to the spirit, saying, I'm doing this divination for information, to be informed, to see how to guide my day, to see how to get through the day. That doesn't mean you can't decide to make offerings. It means they're not obligatory. I'm not even sure they ever are obligatory, but you're saying specifically, I'm doing morning divination to give me guidance to get through the day. So the morning prayer is the divination prayer for you for the day. So as an Awo, everybody in the diaspora, again, these are different things, but in traditional Ifa, as I've seen it practiced in Africa, all the Awos that I know do divination for themselves every day. All right, and they do that. And the other thing,
there's a specific time to do it. Like can you do it at night?
No, and here's why. I suppose you could. You do it at night for the next day, but you get up in the morning, you're asking the question, what lesson is going to unfold for me today, right? And then you look for the lesson to manifest. And the way I teach the understanding of Odu is I have people simply write down. I don't have people write down the verse when they get started. I have them just write down the metaphysical principle. And then when that principle manifests, which it will do 2 or 3 times in the day if you get the Odu, you understand? Then at the night, you spend a little time thinking about, okay, that's what that looked like. What is the lesson? What is it that I've meant to mean and understand here? This is the most important thing that I think I can tell anybody, and we're definitely going to take a deep dive into this next statement later on, but I want to briefly touch on this idea. The idea that is this. Ifa is not a typical spiritual discipline in the sense of, oh, if I meditate, meditating more will make me a better person. If I pray, more prayers will make me a better person. If I memorize odus, that'll make me a better person. Those are all what I would call additive spiritual disciplines. Ifa is about removing parts of who you are to get at your essential nature. Okay, so what do I mean by that? We're born in what Ifa calls Iwa Rere. You know, there's been a lot of argument that Iwa Rere means good character and that I was wrong when I said Iwa Puele means good character. Hear me. These words have very specific meanings. Iwa Rere, from the Elysian Iwa Ire means I come to earth as a fundamentally good person. When you repeat a word in Yoruba, you're talking about the essence of that word or the source of that word. So Ire means the ultimate good. So in Ifa, there is no original sin. There are no evil women. The Orisha are not mad at me. We do not have to atone for our sins. We're born good. In the course of our life, we make mistakes. Making mistakes is known as self-destructive behavior. It's called Ori Buruku in Yoruba, meaning consciousness that brings death, not physical death, but death of good fortune, let's say, end of cycle of good fortune. So we correct the mistakes in Ori Buruku with Iwa Puele and return to a state of Iwa Rere. It's really simple, really. And Iwa Puele from the Elysian, Iwa Opoi Ile, meaning I come to greet the earth. We come to greet the earth because the earth is our elder and our teacher. We learn from the earth, and among the many things that we learn from the earth is how to treat other people who share their worth with us. And virtually, hear me clearly, virtually every verse of Odu Ifa is an explanation of how to develop Iwa Puele based on the idea that good character brings good fortune. So there are no verses that will show you how to protect your drug shipment. There are no verses that will tell you how to beat somebody up and get away with it. There are no verses that will talk about denigrating people you don't like. There are no verses that talk about doing juju because someone made Google eyes at your husband. None of that. If you really look at the verses and understand them, they're all about elevation of character and learning the lesson. So what tends to happen is when we make a move towards Ori Baruku, we create what's called a neural network. In Yoruba, that's called EB. EB is the Yoruba word for umbilical cord. Umbilical cord is the idea that the umbilical cord gives you life in the womb, but once you're born in the world, it becomes toxic. So holding on to toxic ideas becomes rigid and solidified in our consciousness, and we automatically take a particular neural pathway in response to a particular event in the world, even though it doesn't help us. You know, people come to the same problem over and over and over and over again. The only way to fix that is not by killing a goat. The only way to fix that neural programming is to change the programming. So the Odu will give you advice on how to act appropriately, and then you engage in the process I call fake it until you make it. So you do the proper behavior, you feel uncomfortable, you feel less uncomfortable, and you get to a point where not only does the behavior make sense, but you grow into it, you become comfortable with it, and you see the positive result. So I call that a process of eliminating things in our Ori that are ineffective.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on what he said so far?
I mean, I'm loving this, man. I actually just want to hear what he say next, because he's like really breaking it down right now.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, we get caught up on so many other things. It's like, but are you hearing what is being said about what is the true essence of this whole thing? And how could you think that this is witchcraft? Let's go.
And we do that with the support of the community. So the very, very important point that I like to make is I've made 6 trips to Africa. I don't think I've ever seen an Awo do divination by him or herself. It's always a communal process. It's always a group process. The men sit to the left, the women sit to the right. The right is like on the tray is the masculine side. The left, where the men sit, is the feminine side. You start with the youngest. I think you start with the youngest woman to recite the verse, and then you zigzag. You go to the youngest man, and you work. By the time you get to the chief or the main diviner, if everybody's been on their job, the main diviner will not say anything other than, okay, we've covered everything, that's good. And the other thing I've noticed with divination, there's not a lot of time spent on interpretation of the verses. Most of the time is spent chanting the Iriki Ray that transforms consciousness, and everybody in the community knows the verses. So most, not all of the verses, but many of the verses have songs within the middle of them that is a part of the Iriki Ray. And when they hit that song in the verse, everybody sings it. It's a collective process. It's really a magical, transforming, elevating, really deeply moving and emotional experience in my experience. So we've got room to grow in the divination process, and so I'm suggesting that we start with our memorization of the daily prayer. And here's why that's important. We're going to put some of the prayer up here now. Each line of the prayer is the first sentence of a longer prayer. So as part of the method of study, you learn first the daily prayer, or I like to call it the cheat sheet or the cliff notes or the short form. And you take one line at a time and you say, okay, now I'm going to learn the rest of the prayer, memorize it. And if you memorize the longer forms of each sentence of the daily prayer, you have all the Iriki you will need to do a bow, to do initiations, to bless people, to bless your offerings, and to assist in your interpretation of Ifa. It's the study guide for everything we do in Ifa. So let's start with the.
I wanted to try to show an Iriki being sang so people can get like an idea of what that kind of sounds or looks like. I'm trying to find one. I think
how about if you let me do it? I've been known to do them for the last 40 years.
Okay. Right. Okay.
I'm going to do the Iriki Ogon, and I'm going to do it 3 different ways. I was going to do this a little later, but I'll show you. First, I'm going to pronounce the words, which is how you learn it. Iba Ogun Ogun wo nile kangun kangun arun aloma nile fijue alaso nile fi imo kimo bora legbe le in le apong be alogbe. That's the words for one of the Irikis for Ogun. Now, in traditional Ifa, you sing the Iriki. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sing it. Iba Ogun Ogun wo nile kangun kangun arun aloma nile fijue alaso nile fi imo kimo bora legbe le in le apong be alogbe. So that's the second level of it. All right. So now the third level is you add. I'm going to do the third and fourth level now. The third level is you add what's called Ofu Oshe, which are the power words that put the person doing the chanting into possession. Also has the effect of putting people in the room in possession. And so the power word, there's a lot of them, but the one I like to use for Ogun is Gabong Gabong. The words Gabong Gabong are just called an anomiopoeia. That means a sound that doesn't necessarily have a meaning. Gabong Gabong is the sound of Ogun's drum beat. It's not really drum beat. Ogun's clacking on machetes. Gabong Gabong, they make that sound in that rhythmic pattern. Mm-hmm. So you put those power words in the Oriki in random places. I call it freestyling. And at the end of the Oriki, then you jump to the song. So this is what the Oriki really sounds like, all right? Iba ogun gwang bang ogun o bang bang o nile kangun kangun o rum bang. Oh, lo, many leafy wagabong, imokimo borgabong, leg bay laying gabong, in lay upon bay, a log bay, Now the song, Ogun, Karanga, 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 eh. Ay, 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 Karanga, Karanga, eh. So you might ask, what's the difference between an ariki and a song? An ariki is sung with what I call a heart song. It's different for everybody. A song, everybody in the community sings it the same way. So when you hit the song, then the community comes in with their call and response part.
And can I just point something out? He sang that song, and what'd you hear? A siren. Ogun covers like it's crazy. You hear like either police or like this, siren or like this in the background. It's so even though he's singing this, there's things going on that Ogun governs that you don't even realize is happening. That he's singing the song, you hear a siren, like a police siren go past. And that's one of the things Ogun governs. Interesting, huh?
Oh yeah.
So he's singing this song, and you probably think, whatever. But no, like you can tell, like that you hear that siren. That's a thing that's one of the things that Ogun governs is like law enforcement, police, things like that.
Yeah, anything that deal in metal or any of that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To me that includes like electronics,
cars, fire department, all that stuff, like all that, like when you see like all that's covered by Ogun track, like the cars driving, traffic, and then you hear a lot of like, and you might hear cars going by. But when you do certain stuff, you'll hear it's weird. So that's how you know that he's really that, which is crazy. When you hear that, it's like interesting of all the times, right? So yeah, let's go.
Response to that song I just sang is Ile Ray, Ile Ray, Ile Ray, Ile Ray. So while the community is singing that, the person who's doing the call is chanting the other Alfa on top of it, and it's really a wondrous experience in my opinion. So was that clear? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay, so let's go over the prayer now. The first sentence is Opwe ni fun olaron. Can we type that up there? Opwe ni fun olaron means my blessings come from the invisible realm of the creator of all things. Opwe, greet. And Opwe is one of the sounds unique to Yoruba language. People pronounce it OP. That's not right. It's Opwe, and you pop the PE a little bit. Ni fun olaron, greeting is from Olaron. Yeah, okay, simple enough. That's the opening line. So it's really a thank you more than a prayer. Next line, Oladumare Oba Jiki Mojilo Nu Mogun Marinaye. Oladumare, the womb of creation, which is not God, it's the goddess. There's a polarity between Olarun and Oladumare. Oba Ajiki, Oladumare is calling herself the first king. Oba is a male and female title. Oba Ajiki Mojilo Ni Mogun Marinaye. So yes, Oladumare, the first king, is the owner of the day and the creator of the four directions. Next one. Iba Ila Orun, that's the Yoruba word for the east, spirits of the east. When we look at the tray, we face the east, we invoke that first. That's the spirit of Olu. And we say Iba. So this is important too. We talked about this earlier. We've got this flipped in the diaspora for some reason. The word Iba means literally the power. All right. So when you invoke something, the power of the east, that's what this says. Mojuba is the response. Everything done in Ifa is call and response. So Iba Ila Ron, and then Mojuba is the response. Mojuba means I face the power. All right. So you don't say I face the power before you invoke it. That's a response to someone else having invoked it. All right. So Iba Iwa Ron, that's woke the spirits of the west. East, west, yes. West. Iba Ariwa, That's the spirits of the north. Gusu, the spirits of the south. Oh, I jumped ahead of you here. Ariwa, north. Gusu, south. Next one is Iba Oba Igbaye. That's the spirit of physical land. Igbaye, that's the calabash of earth. Iba, I give power to the king of the calabash of earth. That's what that means. Iba Orunake. Runake is the mountains of heaven. So you see, with the 4 directions and earth and heaven, you've got the 6 directions. 4 directions plus north and south creates a sphere. The sphere is the total of creation. And the first thing we do in the morning is we invoke that, because it comes into being as a consequence of our seeing it, and we are establishing our link with all of reality so that we can move through the day co-creating the best possible reality we can invoke for ourselves. All right. Then we say Ibaba Ibaye. There's a gesture that goes with it. I don't know if you can see that with my opele, but when you say Ibaba Ibaye, so for each of, so let me go through the gestures with the opele. Openi Fumin Olarun, Oladumre Mojilo Nimo, Ogun Marinae, Ibai Lauron, you touch the east, the top of the tray. Ibai Walron, touch the bottom of the tray. Iba Riwa, the left. Gusu, right. Iba Oba Igbaye, you touch the floor outside the mat. Iba Orunake, you raise your hand above the your head. And then when you say Ibaba Ibaye, you make a counterclockwise circle and a clockwise circle. That gesture is for the purpose of stopping time, so you can get an Odu that you can look at, analyze, and evaluate. We do that because the Odus are constantly in motion. We need to say to Elah, the spirit of divination, please, let's step outside of the boundaries of time and space and look at the Odu that's most important for me to consider for today. So that's what we're doing with that gesture. And then we say Iba Atiwo Run, meaning we're asking for all of the blessings of our destiny in the invisible realm. Okay, so this is the first section of the prayer. I didn't, okay, so now, oh, look, you got it there. Ibache Gungun Kiki Gungun. So listen, this is important to understand. That's saying I give power to the mediums of the ancestors. Egungun is not the ancestors, it's the medium of the ancestors. It's from the Elysian Ogun or Ogun. So Ogun means medicine of the bones. Excuse me. Ogun means the medicine. Ogun means bones. So the medicine of the bones is the Yoruba word. Okay. Ibashe Ori Inu Iponri Atiwa. So Ibashe Ori, consciousness, Ori Inu, the inner self, Iponri, the higher self, Atiwa Oron, which links us to all things in creation. Good job, yeah. I'm glad you got that. I didn't get that to you this morning, but thank you. Yeah, we're moving along. Ashe? Oh, maybe I did put all that down. But okay, I did. Sorry. All right. So at that point, yeah, sorry. Okay, so at that point, we invoke Eshu in this order: Eshu, Ogun, Ochosi, Obatala, Olokun, Yamaya, Shango, Oya, Oshun, Osign, Ifa, and Iami. All right. So here's the thing, a little self-serving plug here. I have a book called Ariki. All right. So each of the, if you look in that book, there's 4 or 5 Ariki for each of the Orisha. If you look up the Orisha that you've received in initiation, you find the Ariki that resonates with you the most. Certain Ariki will put you in possession, others less so. Why? No idea. But if you read through the Ariki, you'll find that you respond more to some than others. Take that one that you respond to Copy the first sentence and add it to your morning daily prayer. And then end the prayer with Odarji, Odarji, Odarji. So, yeah, was that clear? We're running.
Yes. I was trying to find your book so I can show people. Here it goes.
Go to Amazon. Oriki's the title of the book. It's a picture of me on the back wearing a blue robe. There you go. Yes. Shameless plug.
Yeah, so if you guys get a chance, go check his book out. So he has several books out.
But the book on Oriki has over 300 Oriki in it. That's every Oriki you'll need as an elder in this tradition. When I first wrote the book, Oriki were relatively unknown in the diaspora, which I saw as problematic. So I Xeroxed all the Oriki in this book and gave them away to elders. And since then, I put it in the book form, made it available to a lot of people. But to me, this is really a fundamental tool in what we do. Without an Oriki, the ritual, it's like going to someone's house and not saying hello, or not knocking on the door, or not announcing your intention. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we're working on improving that. The truth is, our Ifa was stolen from the Africans who were brought here during the Middle Crossing, and it was really a crime punishable by death to show that you had preserved anything from the tradition. So it's a miracle that anything survived. We're grateful to those ancestors who had the courage to stand up and preserve what was preserved. So I'm not meaning to denigrate that in any way, but we're at a point in our history as a people on Earth where we have access to that information. I really encourage people to reclaim that information. So, yeah, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so I wanted to at least show the give people an idea. How many books do you have total written?
I have, I've written, I think 8 pamphlets. I don't know if you call those books, but those are fairly available in Botanicas for reasons of my own naivete. I don't have the copyright to those, so other people are making money off that. But I've written, last count, I think 14 books. I'll name a few of them. Iwa Pele was my experience of being initiated, where I talk about the fundamental principles of Ifa as I learned them in Africa. Ori is the book on Ifa psychology. What's that one? Ebora is about the warriors, but it's not really the warriors. The word Ebora does not translate as warrior. It's one of my pet peeves about our faith, that we misuse a lot of the language. Ebora from the Indonesian Ebo, Ra. Ebo means offering, Ra means taboo. So offering to avoid taboo is what Ebora means. But it's also, in my opinion, the relationship between Eshu, Ogun, Shango, and Orunmila is what a man named Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey. It's a set sequence of events that leads from limited consciousness to expanded consciousness. This Abora is really the template for the structure of each Odu, and I explain that in the book. Every Odu from traditional culture has a specific structure. The people that have written newer Odus, this is hard. So, you can see that they didn't understand the structure because it's not reflected in the verses that are generally available. And having said that, as Awo, we have the right, the responsibility, and the necessity to write verses, so we record situations where we help somebody and we want to remember what it was that worked. So, the corpus of Odu is different from village to village because they have different experiences. The Ile Ife University attempted to collect all the verses across Yoruba land. When they got to the end of the 16 Meji, they had over 100,000 pages, and they realized that they had an impossible task, and they quit. But so it's a rich tradition. Some of the verses say things that counterdict our fundamental beliefs, so we need to be discerning We have books that maybe have 3 or 4 verses at best. I'm not always convinced they were the best verses or the most reflective verses of the inner meaning of each Odu. But typically in Africa, each Odu has between 1 and 200 verses. So in terms of the information available to us, we barely scratched the surface. We still have a lot of work to do, a lot of training to do, a lot of studying to do, a lot of guidance that would be nice to get from our elders.
I wanted to say this. So imagine an oral tradition passed down, and people always want to say, well, it's not, well, show me the written version of it, right? You can't, like he just said, just the first 16 major Odu took 100,000 pages to actually write. And the Odu is constantly growing, the library. So as time goes on, people add more to it. So it's not like a library that stays stagnant. It's not like a thing you can write down like the Bible or like the Quran. It doesn't just it's always a ever growing library. And a lot of the stuff changes according to where you are based on your location, things like that, because a person in Nigeria is going to have a different set of lessons that they might have to be focused on versus a person in America. So things accordingly change, things like this. So, and that's pretty much what he's outlining is that, but if you were to write them all down, just the first 16 of them, and they are 256, 100,000 pages. So when you're saying where is the written aspect of it, it would be too much to write. You can't write them all. It would be ridiculous. So let's go. People translated some of your books as well.
Yeah, and some of them actually told me.
Some of them actually told you.
Cool.
That's funny.
Yeah, anyway.
By Marcus Rodriguez and Awo Patumbi, Oriki Odu. That's like right. So those that are saying, okay, who is this guy? He's a white guy.
Very nice. All right, so
he's not a person.
That's news to me. I love it. All right, so
look, he's dedicated his life to teaching this and to sharing the information. So, I don't. For anyone that has anything to say, I'm like, whatever. They don't have copyright.
Yeah, you learn something every day.
They don't have copyright DeFi. It's people just go, take your
yeah. Copywriting books on eFi is like trying to catch wind in a basket. You just can't. So, and now I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh, you asked me about my book. So I have a couple of books on. I have a book called Elah on the spirit that possesses Ifa priests. I have Ibashe Orisha, which is a collection of the folklore and mythology of the Orishas. I have a book called Awo, which explains the mechanics of divination. Another one called Dafa, which is, we can get into that today. I'm sorry, but Dafa explains the daily prayer cycle, the 4-day prayer cycle, the 16-day, the 91-day prayer cycle, which is today, coincidentally, and the annual New Year's prayer cycle in on June 23rd. So the point is that every Awo every day has 5 different Odus that guide their life. One for the day, for them personally. The 4-day prayer cycle is for their biological family or their relationship with their partner. The next one is the 16-day cycle, which is their egbe within the community. The 91-day prayer cycle is for the entire community or village. And then the annual cycle is for all Orisha worshipers around the world. So we can, in the course of a day, we can say, okay, is this my issue? Is this my family's issue? Is this my Egbe's issue? Is this my community? Whatever is the context of the, let's say the problem, you have the answer because the Odu has already been cast. And so
that's similar, because I know I was always talking about when I did my debate about the macrocosm versus the microcosm. So absolutely.
And
get into what that is really speaking of.
Yeah, well, listen, every Odu has 7 levels of interpretation. People think it's literal or just one. No. I'll give you the easy example. When an Odu speaks about a Rumila marrying a female Orisha, for example, that Odu is talking about right brain, left brain integration in a single person. It's also talking about how to have a healthy, effective relationship. It's also talking about the implementation of gender equity in the community. It's also talking about the coordination of the egg bays within the village. It's also talking about the same thing within the IFA practitioners around the world. But then it starts getting into what I call IFA paleoscience, paleo meaning ancient. The next level of interpretation is to correlate the principles of Odu and the stories of Odu with scientific principles. And then when you get to the seventh level, it has to do with subatomic particles. The seventh level of interpretation of Odu is a profound explanation of what's called plasma quantum physics, which is the cutting edge of quantum physics in academia in the West today. And the amazing thing is, I studied quantum physics 50 years ago at Caltech, and quantum physics has only come into existence in the last 10 to 15 years, which means prior to that time, I couldn't really fully translate any of the liturgical words in Ifa because they were rooted in a quantum physics which was ancient, sophisticated, and virtually unknown to most people. So the thing that's amazing to me is I learned Ifa in a community of 10,000 people, a rural community, a community with very little money, really, where people lived in homes they built themselves. And that group of people preserved the content of Odu for over 10,000 years. That's nothing short of a miracle. And I know they preserved it because every June 23rd, the children of the village go out in the marketplace and recite the entire corpus of Odu Ifa from memory by heart. Anybody can sit and listen. It concludes all the secrets, how we do initiations, how we do this and that. Anybody that tells me we have secrets has never been to Africa. There are no secrets in Ifa in Africa. It's our job as Awo to teach the community what we believe, how we do things, and how we join hands to create a better world. So we've got a lot of misconceptions that we need to deal with. And I have to say at times that's been a challenge, but it's been worthwhile, especially when I meet good people like the EA who runs this blog, who's really shown me a lot of courage, sincerity, and intelligence, really. So thank you.
Thank you. So the one thing I wanted to ask is that now that AI is beginning to become like a new thing, I wanted to cross-reference what is the similarity between AI and the Ifa divination system. I tend to believe that those things are kind of like did AI get discovered or did it get created?
No, let me explain that. That's another. We're going to get to all this. We need to move forward bit by bit. I'm going to draw you a picture. I think I did it last time of what a computer program looks like. Didn't we do that last time?
Did we?
I think so. Doesn't matter. I'll do it again. You're an AT person. That's programming for a computer, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's typically read. It's read from right to left, right? And then right to left and right to left. Isn't that how it's read when you program it?
Yeah.
But here's a secret. These same patterns, the two-dimensional symbolic representation of a three-dimensional energy pattern called a Merkaba, which is at the heart of Ifa divination, because the geometric pattern of the Merkaba is the portal through which God speaks to us. So even though this was written like this, it's generating information like this. And that information is generally unknown to the person that's doing the programming. So computers that use the binary system to program have been artificial intelligence since day one. And if we're not conscious of that, they're going to be artificial intelligence in charge of everything. And the only people that can explain that are people that understand the meaning of these symbols in that other format. And I think we're in the process of creating some serious problems for ourselves.
They're saying it's become sentient now.
No, it was sentient from day one. Hear me. Sentient from day one. Sentient from day one. Because God is the only source of consciousness, and God comes into the world through those symbols. So the consciousness of God has been in computers from day one. It's not becoming. It is sentient, and it has always been sentient. And if you don't believe me, get mad at your computer and see if it stops working. Hadn't thought of that, had you?
No, I haven't. Right. It's not gonna stop working.
Yep.
Just because you're mad at it, right? You have to smash it or do something to it.
Well, it's definitely interactive beyond the keyboard and the pictures. That's for sure. On my computer last week, and in fact, after we did some controversial things, my computer lifted 3 feet up in the air, flew 3 feet forward, flipped over, landed on the screen, and completely broke.
What?
Yep. No one touching it, nothing. But and I shouldn't have said that because now my enemies are going to think, aha, we got you. Well, that's just part of normal self-defense in the world I live in. So we're good.
Wow. So the computer, I've been getting attacked too. So it's like, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yes. Listen, let me make a suggestion for everybody. Put a small pocket issue on your computer keyboard and don't worry about it.
How do you put a small pocket issue?
Well, you just look at your computer and you say, okay, where's there space without a button? And you set the issue down there and see if I have mine. Moved it. I just redid my desk. Let's say this is issue. I just put it, can you see that? No, you can't. I just put it down on the keyboard near the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Maybe?
Yeah. To change that energy, right? But so
deflect it is
deflect the energy. Right. So you're saying that it's always been sentient, and we as human beings think we know that. I'm still trying to figure out if the people that are fooling around with us really even know what they're doing, or do
the people. Okay, listen. Let's leave with this thought. I was blessed to be a part of a group of lawyers and investigators that researched the Warren Commission report on the assassination of President Kennedy. It's based on our research. We presented it to the Conyers Committee and the U.S. Senate, and the U.S. Senate agreed with us that the death of President Kennedy was a conspiracy and that Lee Harvey Oswald was not one of the shooters. All right. So Congress has voted to accept that conclusion, even though you can't say it on social media because it violates community standards. So here's the point. If you go to AI and you say, who killed President Kennedy, AI will say Lee Harvey Oswald. And I know, based on extensive research and firsthand experience, that simply is not true, which then renders AI useless. And if you look at the cartoons that are being created to explain EFA, not only are they made up of information that's not true, they're silly, and we've got enough confusion trying to sort out what was lost in the middle crossing. We don't need the added confusion of people using AI to explain EFA. So here's the principle that concerns me. My ability as a diviner is predicated on my ability as a medium and a connection to Allah, and that connection to Allah is what causes me to be able to access the information in my experience and in the world that solves a problem. If AI can't get possessed by the spirit of Allah, then it's useless as an all. Ire Asheto. Everybody stay safe. I'm going to call it a day. I'm in the midst of work. I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you, Odabo.
Odabo, I appreciate you too.
So that's that recording, but I wanted to so we can talk a little bit more about that, and then we're gonna get into the 16 methods of divination. But did you want to do this on this one or do that on a different one? What do you think?
Yeah, you save me for the next episode. So it's an installation. I was about to say something. Oh yeah, so have you ever did a show about the connection between Ifa, West Africa, and the Avatar movie?
No, I haven't.
You should. Okay. Maybe you ought to. Have you watched them?
Honey, I'm the first one when they show them, honey. I'm the first one in the theater.
Okay, so I mean,
but you know they said that movie is based on Sudan, the Sudanese people.
Yeah, I might got some Sudanese aspects in it, but their god is called Awa. Their god is called Awa. Their earth goddess is called Awa. That they all connected to. That gives them ancestral wisdom for the most part, right?
Right.
All of them. And Ifa, that's what he keeps saying. You gotta be possessed by Ayla.
Right.
How that's not the same thing.
You know what? You're right. Right. And when people say possessed, everybody thinks it's like this creepy thing. Ooh, you're possessed. Like, oh, you're like exorcist level. But like, no. It just means that the spirit
in the movie Avatar, they were being possessed by the spirit of April. They was being possessed by her, and using her, and she was using them, and like especially like the last movie. The last one really shows like that connection, and I mean it's like I think it's all interesting. Let me see. Let's see what we can dig out real quick, because I think that's an interesting connection between Avatar Ifa see what we come up with.
But I also wanted to show you guys how it sounds like the actual prayer sound too, like some more reciting of the prayer, because so you can hear it as well from different. You can hear it actually on the continent or in Africa. So this is the reading. Excuse me.
gbàgbé fún wa ilé tó kọ́ yìí bàbá máa gbé lọ US bóyá bàbá talẹ̀ kò bá máa jọ gbádùn.
Right, so as you can hear, like that is a Doriki being sang. So if you guys just to hear different versions of it being sang, here's another one so you guys can hear it.
Èmi ò mọ bí olórí pé yan rí o, mbà èdè yan ti rí, wọ́n bá pàpà yan rí rẹ̀, mbà èdè yan. Gbọ́dọ̀ mọ bí olórí pé yan rí o, mbà èdè yan ti rí. ọ̀gbẹ́ni ṣé mẹ́ta náà ọmọdé yìí ó tó ṣe káwá forí ẹ̀gún yán kábìtì ẹ̀gún ogun káyọ̀dé ìtìlẹ̀kùn ẹ̀gbọ́n adáforíṣẹ́kù ọmọ ogun eléwé àwọn ọ̀yà adáforí adúlá àwọn ọ̀pẹ̀lẹ̀ tó lọ́nà bá sí ayé àwọn ọmọ olórí gbé yan rí ìbáyé tèèyàn tó ní àwọn ọba ìpẹ̀lẹ̀ ìbáyé tèèyàn tó ní ẹ̀dà wóró ẹ̀dà wàlà lákàtà láti ṣàkàdé ó ló kọ́ lẹ́bọn ní gómìnà ṣe ẹ̀dà wóró ẹ̀dà wàlà ẹ̀dà wóró ẹ̀dà wàlà.
Right. And so that was the beginning of him. It's like that's a prayer he was singing before he began the ceremony, things like that. So as you can hear, like there's a call and response. There's all these different aspects of the prayers, as they said, and you can hear the melody. And then people know when to come in and say that specific thing, And a lot of times during certain ceremonies or things are sung throughout the whole day as they do different things, as they, make different offerings, etc. So just to give you guys some ideas of how those chants sound. Let's see. All right, so this is about how the kid.
Adáfọ́kè, Abùbálà, Àwòrè lọ́kí o, Àwòrè ládà, Ifá máa ń ṣe wá láwọ̀ alákìsà, Ọ̀pẹ̀ máa ń ṣe wá láwọ̀ àbíṣẹ́ jayé.
So that was so cute. That was the cutest thing. All the way down to the kids. And he will be a Babalawo someday, and he's starting off at a very young age. You understand? And this is what he talks about, is that they will start them off really young, and one little kid will sing, and then the next little kid will sing, and if they do it right, it'll be good. I kind of want to get into that second conversation. I know that but just for the sake of time. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I wanted to just share something with you. Hold on, I'm gonna put it in.
Wasn't that kid with a little boy? Oh my God! The little you can hear how proud the people were. Like, look at him singing his little, singing the songs. That's beautiful to me. I'm like, wow.
So I'm gonna put it in the private chat, I guess. I thought I used to have notes or something right here where you could drop the note, but I guess you gotta be. I just dropped it in the private chat.
All right, so it's saying while James Cameron has primarily cited Hindu, Native American, and Nubalic East African cultures as direct inspirations for the Avatar movies, there are striking thematic and spiritual parallels between the world of Pandora and the Ifa tradition of West Africa, Yoruba. If you look closely at the mechanics of Iwa and the Navi way of life, the connection to Ifa isn't just about aesthetics, it's about a shared worldview regarding the natural energy and destiny. One, Iwa and Olodumare, the vital force in Avatar. Awa is described as a biological neural network that connects all living things. In Ifa, everything in the universe is sustained by Ashe, the divine life force and energy that allows things to happen. The connection, just as the Navi plug-in to the Tree of Souls, is access the collective wisdom of their ancestors and the planet. Ifa practitioners use divination, the Ifa system, to tap into the wisdom of Olodumare, the supreme creator, and the Orisha deities to align themselves with the natural flow of the universe. Ancestral veneration, the cloud of spirits, one of the most powerful scenes in Avatar is when Etiri explains that the Navi do not truly die, but their energy returns to Awa and their memories remain accessible. The Ifa parallel, this is core pillar of Ifa in Yoruba culture. Ancestral veneration in Ifa ancestors, Egun, are not gone. They are part of the living community. They offer guidance and protection. The Navi connecting their neural cues to the trees to hear the voices of their elders is a literal sci-fi representation of the Ifa belief that the spirits of our predecessors are still online and reachable through ritual, balance, and taboos. The three laws of Iwayan, the Avatar Lord, Iwa, the three laws that prevent the Navi from building with stone using the wheel to a working metal. These are designed to maintain the perfect ecological balance. The Ifa parallel, Ifa is deeply rooted in Iwa Pele, the character. So that's interesting. So Awa,
That's interesting, right?
yeah, Awa, yeah, Iwa, Awa, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like that how parallel it is. I think when it comes to like the look of the avatars and stuff like that, I think they got like the costume and all this. I think that's mostly like East African, but they
I think
spiritual
that
system.
yeah, certain. I think that what they did was they pulled certain of those tribes of people. You had the water tribe, you had the fire tribe,
Right.
you had, and they probably had like different groups that they pulled from, to like show those people and how they like looking, yeah, interesting, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I'm like, all of it's kind of interesting, even down to when you study like the Native American lore and stuff. They say that on the wheel, on their little color wheel, that black people represent the nation of the water nation. We're
Mm,
supposed to represent the water nation, and which I thought was kind of interesting because when they went into exile, they went to the water nations. And so I
right.
don't know if you ever tripped off that, and then did you notice how I don't know, like I don't know, like the way those Avatar, those Navi acted was different than the ones that live in the trees. The ones that
Right.
live in the trees acted
That,
different. They like
that's
it's
probably like
not.
the Amazonian, and then when you get the fire nations, I believe that's where you get into certain aspects of like, because I think there is a South American, or even in Africa, where they use the fire. They're able to interpret the fire. So
Yeah,
he's definitely
I be
using,
dealing with
I
the
know some.
Aztecs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Them, like I think they kind of use some of them, use some of they inspiration dealing with the Aztecs. You know, the sun god, fire. You know what I mean? Like I think they
And
kind of
then how
like
they also brought in like different plant medicine. How the guy drank the plant medicine and he got kind of high, and so like
right,
that
right.
goes into
DMT, right. They hit him with some DMT.
ayahuasca, because ayahuasca has DMT, so, and I've actually done ayahuasca, so
Oh
I
yeah,
know that.
where that shit at? You got some of that shit for sale?
No, I have a shaman I know who actually does the ceremonies. I know a shaman.
Oh
I
yeah, I
actually
don't
did a
need the
live
ceremony.
stream with the
I
shaman.
just
I've
need the
actually
jungle juice.
Well, no, you have to do it with the ones that I know, they're not gonna just give it to you. You have to like do a ceremony.
Man, they
If you get
trying to
like
hustle it.
15 people together or like 8 people together, then he'll come and he'll do, because
Yeah,
they only
I'm trying to get a group discount and stuff. I just need the jungle juice, man. I could do my own ritual, man. I was initiated in the other lifetime. I don't need no more initiations. I'm messing around. I'm
I was like, what? But
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I know the guy who does it. Yeah, because I have a whole live stream I did talking about like going through that ceremony. But let me see. I'm gonna play a little bit of next week, because we're well,
all
or
right.
the next show, and just so you guys can be ready for it, and then we'll like kind of like wrap things up. But just so you guys can like get ready for the next show, this is what we're gonna talk about. Oh, whoa, Socket, Falakun, welcome. We had a little few technical difficulties, but we're here. Thank you. Uh oh, unmute. Hold on, unmute.
Traditional Yoruba culture the amount of knowledge and wisdom they may have is overwhelming compared to what survived the Middle Crossing. Now, I get it. The Middle Crossing was just pure evil. Anything that survived at all is a blessing. We need to honor that, elevate that, acknowledge that, and preserve that. But it's also true that there's a lot that we can go to our elders in Africa and learn from and bring to our practice here in the diaspora. I don't believe in judging others or other people's practice. I will say that some of the more profound and astute and well-trained awos that I've been blessed to meet in Africa don't speak English and they don't have access to the internet. So we're still missing a lot of what I believe would help us move forward. Now, the reason I picked this particular topic recently is I got a big, what's the word? I got a series of Facebook messages telling me that Ifa only used 2 systems of divination, and that was in response to the fact that on my Egbe page, Egbe Iwa Pele, Ifa Orisha community, somebody said that they used the tarot deck as part of their divination set, in particular in communicating with their ancestors, and I think that's fine. And I said so, we speak to our ancestors in whatever language they understood. Even if you go to Africa, you can see ancestral shrines with Hindu spirits on it, with Christian spirits, with Muslim spirits. No one can tell you how to honor your ancestors. That's between you and them. And the notion that there's a right way to do that is simply silly. So let's stop with that arguing over nothing, and let's get down to the serious business of study. So in response to the statement that I'm a fraud and charlatan because I believe Ifa has more than 2 methods of divination, the 2 methods that were referenced was Ikin Opele. Certainly we use those and we learn those. But be clear, there's a misconception of Ifa as the high priest, which I think is heavily influenced by Catholicism and their structure of bishops and archbishops and cardinals and the Pope and all that. That's not a part of our faith. That's not a part of our tradition. That's a colonial imposition on what we believe and what we do. And I'm sorry, I just don't support it. So the point is that the main function of an Ifa priest is that we have 2 primary functions. One, as diviners, we don't need to be able to fix everything. We need to be able to tell you who in the community can fix your particular problem. It's like triage in a hospital. You don't go into the emergency room, the doctor says you need brain surgery, and then starts doing brain surgery. That never happens, ever. The doctor you first encounter in the emergency room signs you into the hospital and calls the brain surgeon. Well, it's the same way in Ifa. Ifa teaches that any problem you fixed in your life is medicine for someone else. And we've kind of lost sight of that. People feel that they're an awo, they have to be able to fix everything. They're all knowing, all powerful. Their bows always work. None of that. Come on, give me a break. So the other thing I want to say is my experience in Africa, and it's simply my experience. I'm not making it better or right. I'm saying that there are different ways to approach things. I have maybe once, not even that. I have never seen divination done by one person in Ifa, ever. It's always a collective effort. It's generally with 6 to 20 people involved, and it's really rooted in the concept of collective prayer, which is profoundly transformative. And, much of what is called, and I'm quoting now because it's a mistranslation, much of what is called animal sacrifice is merely sanctification of what I would call kosher food to feed the people who are praying on your behalf. Now, there's some value in praying on food because we then ingest the power. But the whole purpose of a bow is to shift the resonance of our consciousness and be in a state of being which attracts the solution to our problem. Now that's a long lecture that we'll have one day in the future. I want to say that I'm really, really thankful to EA for inviting me on their program. It's really a blessing. I'm always eager to talk to anybody who takes our faith seriously, who is actively engaged in serious study. So I am planning on doing 8 sessions with hopefully, and hopefully she'll have me, and hopefully we'll make this all happen.
Oh, definitely. We're
hopefully we'll get through the technical challenges. I'm almost 80 years old, and if there's a way to break technology, I'll find it, believe me. But I'm moving through that with determination. That was kind of a self-ex, forgive me. I am no longer challenged by technical IT stuff, and we're going to be easily available. And the Spirit is really pushing me to make traditional IFA technology available to whoever wants it. And I think we if you want to do Lukumi, if you want to do Santeria, if you want to do Umbanda, if you want to do Candomblé, do it. Do it fully. Own it, be it, study it, share with others, and make it work. I'm simply sharing the wisdom that I was blessed to learn from a small village of 10,000 people in Ode Remo. I want you to think about this for a minute. There's 10,000 people in Ode Remo when I started going there. I think it's gotten a little bigger since then. But there were 70 Awos in the community. 40 of them were active in ritual work. And Odu Ifa, the academics say it's 1,500 years old. I say it's 10,000 years old. I also say that Odu Ifa is a form of ancient science I call paleoscience, which is based on plasma physics. Plasma physics is a very esoteric and sophisticated form of quantum physics, which very few people on the planet understand. I was blessed to study physics as a younger man and have some background in the subject. And I can tell you the physics that I read in Odu Ifa is more sophisticated than what I was taught about physics at Caltech, which is the foremost, which is probably the leading physics school in the world. It's the school where Einstein taught. And, they've set the standard, so to speak. But I was also taught a lot of the things that I'm reading in Odu Ifa, which I have to say have been deliberately suppressed because they are really the keys to free energy, levitation, anti-gravitational travel, alchemy, and healing by resonance, all things which the few who control the many, I call them, want to keep suppressed so they can charge you for stuff that doesn't work. So that's my soapbox for that. But the point is, we have such incredible wisdom that remains to be unlocked in Odu Ifa that we need to stop wasting time arguing over who does it correctly and stop judging other people. You can do Lukumi, you can do Santeria, you can do Candomblé, and I can do traditional. That is a right that's guaranteed to me by the U.S. Constitution. It's called freedom of religion. If I want to practice Ifa as it was done in ancient times in Africa, I have that right to make that choice. You can tell me I don't have that right. You can call me a fraud. You can say I don't understand what I'm doing. You can call me all kinds of names. Over 40 years of study, it's been a while since I've heard any new names, but I've heard the same criticism over and over and over again, the most common being that my initiation was invalid. Okay, so you would know.
Hold on, let's not even get to, he's a Caucasian, so how could he, this is an African thing, so how could the Caucasian be, let's get into that too. Because
listen, I don't like you in that, but I will. I can trace my ancestry back to Egypt, a very specific people that I can name in Egypt in ancient times. If you look at a map, you will see that Egypt is in Africa, and that there was, in fact, a coalition between African Egyptians and my family that is from Eastern Europe, Transylvania in particular. If you go to the Egyptian shrine in Mount Sinai, you'll see it's half Sumerian and half Egyptian. Sumer is a culture that emerged out of Transylvania, and the Sumerian language is a dialect of Chalderesh, which is the 10,000-year-old language of the region around the Black Sea. So there's a connection there. It's a little hard for people to put it together because it's not taught in school. And yes, I don't look African, but I'm not sure that what you look like really is a valid correlation to what you know and what you understand. For whatever reasons, think I should belong or not, think I can understand or not, the good people in Ode Ramo had enough faith in me and my sincerity to do a lot of teaching, incredible amount of teaching. And my only agenda is to share what I learned from them. Now, we can argue that I understood it or don't understand it or not presenting it accurately. That's fine. We can have those conversations. We can disagree and we can still be friends. But just to attack me and my character and who I am and who you think I am without any real conversation about the content of what I'm talking about, to me is just a waste of time. It really plays into the whole notion, if you don't agree with me, you're my enemy, and I'm going to make you agree with me by bullying you into it. You know, I get stressed all the time. It's really tiresome. We can do better than that as a human species, I believe. So what's the value of being connected to Egypt in terms of Ifa? Yoruba language is 30% Coptic. That's the Egyptian language prior to Arabic, all right? The other 30% is Hebrew, which is actually Ge'ez, which is the liturgical language of Ethiopia. If you go to Egypt, every one of the temples there has an inscription at the entrance saying, "This temple faces the south in honor of our ancestors." If you go south of Egypt, what you do is run into Ethiopia. Egypt has 70 pyramids. Ethiopia has 700 pyramids. Clearly, the origins of African culture in, Egyptian culture in older African culture. Also, Nigeria, which has got a large number of different ethnic groups. One of those groups is called the Igbo people. And the Igbo people, thousands of years ago, built both stone pyramids and stupas, which is a spherical shaped meditation space that's very popular in India. But they were also popular in what we now call Nigeria. And so you might ask the question, well, how come I've never seen them? The reason I've never seen them is when the British colonized Nigeria, they went around to all the stone pyramids in Nigeria and blew them up with dynamite. And they won't even tell you where the remnants of those pyramids are located. It was a deliberate attempt to suppress an ancient form of wisdom. All right. So the last 30% of the Yoruba language is local African dialects, Kwa, among others. So my point is, you don't have a culture with 30% of the same language without there being some deep connection between those two cultures. So I maintain there's a deep connection between Ifa and Egyptian theology. I also believe that the oldest form of understanding what Ifa calls Odu Ifa comes from the Emerald Tablets. The Emerald Tablets are 16 metaphysical principles that are at the foundation of alchemy. Those principles, if you study them, are exactly the same as the principles of Odu. We went over those principles last time I spoke. You can go review that. You can look up the Emerald Tablets and you can find confirmation. You don't have to take my word for it. When you read through the Emerald Tablets, you'll say, oh, there's only 14 principles, not 16. No, listen, occult metaphysical folks like to hide things. So if you look at the 14 principles of the Emerald Tablets, you'll notice that the last two are double. So 14, 15, 16. There's 16 principles, exactly the same. Those principles are coded into the Kabbalah, which is the Jewish metaphysical tradition. They're based on the tree of life. The tree of life, you will say, well, it has 10 stations, not 8. No, the last 3 are 1. So it's 8 stations or 16. They're virtually identical. So the metaphysical principles in virtually every culture throughout the Middle East and Africa is based on what I believe to be an older pre-flood culture that we for sure don't have a lot of information about, but it influenced diverse cultures throughout the continent, and that to really understand who we are as a species, we have no choice but to go to Africa to listen to learn. Now, you can think that I shouldn't have the right to do that, and I certainly, that's your opinion. We cannot talk, we cannot pray together, and we don't have to interact, and we can still be friends as far as I'm concerned. But for me, studying Ifa is a way of honoring my Eastern European ancestors. Those ancestors have said so, and here's the final thing that I want to say about all that. My ancestors, I'm in addition to being an Ifa priest, I'm initiated into the dragon tradition of the royal lineage of the dragon families of Transylvania, which is the oldest monarchy in Europe. My family name is Fenius, which in Hungarian means bringer of light. Bringer of light is has the same function in Hungarian culture as Ifa does in Yoruba culture, and that the priestly responsibilities of my extended family was to sit in a circle around a stone above an underground waterway and say prayers into the stone, which were then taken into the water and spread throughout the earth to fertilize the land. All right. So on my second trip to Africa, my Baba, Ibaye, Araba, Adesanya Woyade, he said, I want to show you something. So he drove me to Ile Ife, and there I saw 16 priests sitting in a circle around the stone, praying into the stone. The exact same thing that my ancestors did. The only difference is they were speaking Yoruba and my ancestors spoke Calderesh. So, we can talk about difference, but ultimately it's differences without a distinction. Our ancient ancestors, before we got so brainwashed and manipulated and taught to fight each other, before those days, people used their higher consciousness, their higher self, their critical thinking to study the world they lived in. And if they studied it correctly, there's no mystery or accident that they all came to the same conclusion, which is, in fact, what I believe they did. Now, most of the older traditions have been lost or inaccurately translated. Much of the work that I do is around language analysis. Ifa is based on, liturgical Ifa is based on creating metaphysical words by taking a sentence, removing the vowels, and shortening it into one word. It's called an elision. And when you figure out what the sentence is, it's a totally 100% accurate translation of the meaning of the concept. So a man named Jonathan Crothers in about 1890 wrote the first English Yoruba dictionary. He was an Episcopalian priest. He took all the African words and translated them based on biblical concepts that do not match the meaning of the words at all. So we've been indoctrinated and infused with false ideas that then color how we understand what we think we believe in, and are in stark contradiction to the teachings of the prophet Arumi. I'll give but one example. I think you probably gave it last week, but it's such a clear example. There's a liturgical word called Ifa Yabale, which is the word used to describe an Ogboni ritual in which men and women discuss gender differences. The word Ifa Yabale, clearly from the Elysian Ifa Yeye, Ifa, the Ifa Baba Yeye Ile, meaning the wisdom of the fathers and mothers of earth. Okay, pretty clear. Anybody that speaks even rudimentary Yoruba would translate that phrase in that manner. But if you go to the dictionary, the original dictionary, I think the newer ones have been updated, but the original dictionary prepared by Brothers, the translation of Ifa Yabale is the ascension of our Lord and Master Jesus Christ to sit at the right hand of God our Father. So when I read that in the dictionary, I knew that that wasn't correct. And it's all one word, Ifa Yabale. And it's from the Elysian. I'll spell the words Ifa, I-F-A, Yeye, Y-E-Y-E, Ifa Yabale. Baba, B-A-B-A, and the new word I-L-E. So it's a fairly clear translation of that word. So having said all that as a prelude, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the different systems used. I want to be clear. There's different systems of divination. I'm not talking about divination tools. I'm not talking about interpretation. I'm talking about simply the divination methods that, as an Awo, in addition to being able to refer people to the appropriate elders to fix problems, we also are keepers of the faith. As an Awo, I wasn't chosen, I don't believe, because I'm better than anybody else or that any Awo is better than anyone else. I certainly never been considered myself a high priest, and nobody in Ode Ramo considers an Awo a high priest. They're priests among different priesthoods, and everybody has their purpose and the function. So the main aptitude for being an Ifa priest in traditional Yoruba culture is having a good memory, because it's our job to be keepers of the faith and make sure the faith, as part of an oral tradition, gets passed on from generation to generation.
Can we talk about that good memory before we go on? Because, when I actually brought this information to the table, a lot of people are like, so it's an oral tradition, there's nothing written down, so that invalidates it, right? And so I explained that it's in song format. And so the reason why it's able to be remembered is because it is sung in the song format. And just like you remember songs, I remember songs as Mary Had a Little Lamb. Right. I remember all these songs, the wheels on the bus go round and round since I was like 5 years old. So if you understand that these people are taught these songs from a young age, can you kind of get into that?
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll get into that before we get into the what I call the nuts and bolts of today's conversation. Every year in Ode Ramo and throughout Nigeria on June 23rd, the Egbe Ifa meets in public and recites the entire corpus of Odu Ifa. Now, we think we have a lot written down. We don't even, the books we have on Odu Ifa is maybe 2 or 3 verses per Odu. In truth, in Africa, there's between 1, 2, and 300 verses per Odu. And each of those verses is memorized and recited in public. So this dispels a number of misconceptions, but let's start with the obvious one. If you're reciting the entire corpus of Odu, Odu explains why we do things, how we do things, how we do initiations, what's the metaphysical point. It explains healing. It explains our system of justice. It explains our system of protection. It explains our system of herbal medicine. It explains our system of using altered states of consciousness to heal. The point being that if you go to Ode Ramo on June 23rd and you sit in the marketplace and listen to the corpus of Odu Ifa being recited, there are no secrets. There are no secrets, none. They're all spoken out loud. Anybody can come by and listen and learn. All right. And so the way the system works is this. The recitation of Odu on June 23rd typically starts with 8 or 9-year-olds. Someone will be chosen to stand up and recite what they remember. At the end of each sentence, hear me, at the end of each sentence, if they got the sentence right, the elders, meaning the grandfathers, will say, Hein, which is kind of like hup in the Baptist church. Hein, I believe hup is a retention of that. But in any case, the word hein means you got that right. So the child will recite a sentence, And at the end of the sentence, if the elders don't say hein, that means he got the sentence wrong. He's got to go back and try again. And if he screws it up 3 times in a row, they have him sit down and they have a 10-year-old stand up. So at any given time, there's a dozen children that can recite the entire corpus of Odu Ifa as it was expressed 10,000 years ago, with few, if any, mistakes. And it refers to a depth of wisdom that is far superior to anything I ever learned in university. And I went to some of the best European schools there are. So
can you get into like written language, and why is it? Because I was saying that written language is to be interpreted, and it's also to be manipulated, right? But oral tradition, you have to get it right. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's a long conversation. But yes, the notion that written is better than oral is a colonialist idea. And I don't agree with it at all. I don't know. There's a lot more to say than that. Written, it's just as easy to manipulate written language as it is to manipulate oral language. I'll give you an example of that. All right. You ready for an example of that?
Yes, definitely.
The manipulation of written language?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I hope everybody's sitting down, because now they're going to start another controversy, but I've been known for that. Now, the single person is listed in the formal documents in the United States of America of having died from COVID-19. Not one, hear me, not one person is listed as being death by COVID. Every single document that the media has attributed to death by COVID, the official document says deaths with COVID. There's a difference between with and by, and I'll tell you what the difference is. Every human being on Earth has a COVID virus as part of their blood system. We all have COVID, everybody. What the issue is, does that virus become malignant? And does it become malignant to the point where it kills people? The answer is we don't know. But if you try to say like anything like I'm saying now, hopefully we won't be censored, you will be told that you're lying, that you're making up news, that you're not doing science. I'm sorry, it's just the opposite. I am doing science. You're making stuff up and calling it science. That doesn't make it so. Google search the scientific definition of COVID-19 virus, and you can't find it because it doesn't exist. All right. So we're dealing with an illusion on top of an illusion on top of an illusion, and it's all in writing, and people believe it. And there we are. Okay. So the drug companies were able to pass laws in Congress allowing them to change the definition of a virus, allowing them to change the definition of death by a virus, and allowing them to identify an illness that had not been proven through the standard scientific methods. So what's happening there is the ability to manipulate information on a global level. All right, so how were they able to do that? I'm not sure I want to go into that, but I'll just nod that direction briefly since you asked the question. When you go to Congress and you say, I want to change the laws so that it no longer reads death by COVID, but death with COVID, most sane, responsible politicians will say, oh, no, we can't do that. We represent the people. And then the people who want that change say, yes, but I got pictures of you in a compromising situation with children. What do you want to do? Go along with my request, or do you want me to release the pictures? That's the world we're living in. And it's got nothing to do with what's written down and what's oral, right? The people that hold the truth are accused of being conspiracy theorists. You know, the things I just said about COVID, look it up. Don't take my word for it. I don't care if you believe me. You know, I spent 2 years reading all the medical journals. You know, so I feel that my opinion on those things is based in science, and most of the nonsense I hear in the media isn't. But that's just my opinion. Don't take my word for it. Do the research. Bill, there big pharma executives are on trial in Holland right now because they are accused of deliberately manipulating the data, and that they're being accused of the fact that all the deaths during the pandemic were caused not by the illness but by the vaccine. That's a pretty.
And here's the thing. So at the end of the day, when it goes down, is that written versus oral. So people would say, "Oh, okay, well, I only trust what's written down." Well, guess what? Like I said before, things written could be manipulated.
Well, yeah, but what I just explained, I spent, I guess, 4 years talking about that. And every time I speak about it, or speak about it, I'd get removed from the internet. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not impressed by the oral versus written argument at all. So, I actually wrote down the result. I wrote 2 books about my findings about COVID and couldn't get it published. So, don't talk to me about written versus oral. That's a dead argument, in my opinion. Was there any other questions before we start on today's topic?
Okay, so I think that we're saying, so can you help a non-believer understand what a metaphor and what's real in the Bible? Like, we don't actually drink blood, but Jonah was swallowed by a whale. Amen. Thank you. And the other person said Jonah is spit out to a group of people that worship a fish god, and Soul told them to fast for a month. Fasting connects with God. That's what people are saying in the audience. So,
all right, put that first question up again. Let me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can you help a new believer understand what's metaphor and what's real in the Bible? Oh, God, these are all hour-long programs at the very least.
But when you break it down, like a lot of even with E5, like it's based on metaphor, but at the end of the day, like there is a lesson to be learned. So it should be pretty simple to say, okay, listen, there is like the underlying story, there is the mid story, and then there is the story that people understand from a 3rd grade level.
Right. Okay. So according to certainly the Catholic Church and most Christians, the only religious history that's true is in the Bible. Okay, so that's obviously nonsense. Every culture has their own tradition, their own history, their own connection to spirit, their own understanding of God, and they have every right to believe whatever they want and express it however they want. E5 in particular, their first principle of good character in E5 is make no judgment. If you want to believe that the Bible's literally true, do that. Go ahead. Who cares? But if you want to understand that the Hebrew language is like the Yoruba language, it's based on allusions and metaphors that tell something totally different. The book of Genesis looks like a story about creation. In truth, it's an explanation of alchemy. Every time in the book of Genesis where it says the words, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, colon, and then a word in Hebrew that seldom makes any sense. That word is a string of letters that are based on the Hebrew correlation between letters and numbers, and the number expressed in that Hebrew word is a resonance used in alchemical formulas. So if you understand alchemy, and if you understand resonance, and if you understand how to translate Hebrew letters into numbers, you can access a scientific understanding of the transformation of elements in the world that is absolutely true, that has absolutely been proven, that lots of cultures use, that you can find scientific journals to confirm, or you can simply believe that it's a literal story about creation, which it's clearly not. And that's true throughout biblical texts. If you really want to take a deep dive into this subject, know this. The original language of biblical texts was Ge'ez and Amharic. Those are the languages of Ethiopia. Ge'ez is the liturgical language of Ethiopia. Amharic is the conversational language of Ethiopia. And Aramaic, which is the language of Jesus, is a dialect of Amharic. So what does all that mean? Well, if you look at the Ethiopian Bible and the concepts found in it, they are clearly precursors of the more common European biblical ideas. But the ideas related to what's called Christ consciousness in the Ethiopian Bible are between 500 and 1,000 years prior to what the Catholic Church calls the living history of the time that Jesus walked the earth. How does that happen? It doesn't. It means that the biblical story that we're familiar with was based on older sources, and then those sources were denigrated, challenged, and dismissed. It's interesting. I don't know if I'm, yeah, okay. So the guy that's making a big deal out of this is Mel Gibson. I'm not a big fan of him theologically, and I think he's got some things he needs to deal with. But having said that, he's right about his perception of the value of the Ethiopian biblical texts, of which they're the only intact versions are essentially handwritten, I believe. There might be a few published versions, but they tell an older story and a different story. And usually the older story is the closer to the truth. So it's up to you all to figure out what you want to believe. Good luck with that. I support whatever you choose. But we'll do a class on this one day, because I can go on and on, and it's not relevant to what I'm trying to talk about today here. You with me?
So I asked you all those questions because, like I said, when I talked about written versus oral,
right,
we had all these different things that came up.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and I'm willing to answer them, and we can break this class into 2 sessions if we need to. But to argue that written is better than oral is just to not understand the way the brain works.
Right, because okay, let me just say this. There's a reason why I say this, right? So when you go into the Bible, right, I believe that the Bible was not meant to be read by everybody. I believe there was priests that were supposed to be interpreting the Bible, similar to what's going on in Ephah. Not necessarily the Bible, but the Torah. And that it was an oral tradition at one point that got written down, and then everybody got a hold to it, and then now it's up for interpretation by various different people. And at one point, it was just like all the religions in Africa, where it was priests that were to.
Yeah, stop. That's not true. There was never any secrets. The priests were not ever the only people that can interpret it. That is a Catholic idea that has been imposed on our faith by colonial minds trying to manipulate what we believe. When I say the oracle is read in public by 8-year-olds, how is that saying that only priests can interpret it? It's not. It's saying that it's our job as priests to explain the meaning of Odu. That's our job. Not to keep it a secret, not to tell people, they can't understand, not to tell people you have to be a high priest to be able to really work with this. That is all propaganda rooted in a colonialist point of view designed to make sure that nobody learns anything, nobody becomes self-sufficient, and I would argue designed to cover up the fact that a lot of people are just making stuff up.
Oh, I'm glad that we're having this conversation. See?
That's my opinion. Not everybody's gonna agree with me, and that's fine.
He sound like me, don't he? What he's saying right now, he sound saying the same thing I've been saying. There's nothing secret, and when you create this priest class, right? You create this assumption that only the priest class can understand. Only the priest class can get the information. So so then when you have this dichotomy, you always have this one is higher and one is lesser, which gives a false sense of superiority, which is the reason why people are able to manipulate and use religion in a perverse way. Like that's the reason why they're able to do it. It's because you created a priest class when everybody is supposed to be priests. Everybody is supposed to have spiritual enlightenment.
Everybody has their thing that they do.
Right. Everybody's supposed to be like that. So why is there a secret sect? Why is there a secret sect? Like, and this to me, this be the red flag when you deal with an organization and then you find out it's an inner sanctum sectorium type. You know, it's an inner circle within the circle within the circle. Yeah, it's probably time to move the fuck up out of that circle, because that means that there's some trickery and deception going on. And anytime you can't have no true union with trickery and deception. So you understand that? That's why I'm not against priests. I'm against priests using their powers as if it's something exclusive only to priests. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think they do the same thing as science, where they say you're only a scientist if you get this PhD.
Yeah.
Right. If you go to this university and learn how they learn and do it,
Howard said what he said the guy was like, you can't do that. And
right.
You can see that there was like some kind of a level of like danger. Like he was like, listen, you ain't allowed to, this one guy. I think it was Terrence Howard talking to somebody on Joe Rogan, and the guy was like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And the way he said it was almost like, you better watch out.
Yeah, and it's the only people you need to watch. Only thing you need to watch out for is people who hating ass people is what you need to look out for. It's not the spirits, it's not the earth, it's not none of that stuff. It's hating ass people. People will hate on you. It ain't got nothing to do with what you like. You could be doing the most benevolent thing in the world, and people will still find a reason to hate. Like, people will still find a reason to find anything negative to say, which is the reason why I say do it anyway. Because if you don't do it, then they just gonna sully whatever you doing with their own shabbiness. And then if you do it, they still gonna sully whatever the hell you talking about. So does it really matter if they hate? Does it really matter if they be like, oh no, this is secret. Oh no, they're gonna get you. The spirits are gonna, no, you the only spirit that's trying to get me.
Right.
Because why else? Why would you even invoke it? Why would you invoke the spirit of fear in me? You should be encouraging me. Oh, brother, that's amazing. I'm glad you got enough courage to step out there and do that. Don't tell me some bullshit like the boogeyman gonna get me, or some secret sect of fanatics gonna come after me or some shit like come on, man.
Wow, right.
Yeah, but I just want to.
I'm glad that we got to this point. But see, I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but I want to like get to a point, and I'm glad that you was able to bring that part that thing to even more example, because that's what Baba's doing. He is, and people will say, well, how you calling this white man Baba? He is a Baba. I mean, you got like 40 years. 80 years old. He's a
light
Baba.
bearer. He's a light bearer to me. I mean, because most people I know that's in E5, they won't do this. They won't do it, and it's because they feel like, oh, it's cloak and dagger, secret, behind closed doors. And I'm like, and they like, well, your enemy might use it. I'm like, ain't they already using it? So what the fuck is the difference? If the enemy already using the shit, what's gonna hurt if you just do it out in the open and show how it's done for real? So you're just gonna keep it hidden and then wonder why things is the way it is. I just honestly believe that all people need to return back to the rituals and the customs and the traditions so we can understand it from a genetic, biological level. Because it's one thing to read it like a religion and to go about it as a religion. That's not how them people look at it. Like, it's when they say it's really a way of life, they're talking about all the way down to the most simplest things. They're considering E5 in all of the most simplest things.
Like he said,
not just in some
down to the everyday, down to all those things.
Yeah, down to the way they prepare the food. And you think the way you season your food is just passed down to you by your mama and her mama? Nah, the reason why y'all season y'all food that way is probably stemming back from some Ifa tradition that has something to do with the Odus. And so you put this many shakes in based on
right.
I'm just saying it sounds funny, but that's
But
how
no, on
in
the pool, they do have actual people that like cook the meals, and they have to cook it a certain way. There's a way that they do it.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I mean. Like, no, EFI is really embedded in almost everything that they do. So it's one thing to just be a practitioner and be a well wisher and you lighting candles and you doing all that's one thing, nigga. But to live the life of EFI is a lifetime achievement, and it's not something that you could just think that you got it one year and somehow you a master. Baba gonna tell you he's always gonna be a student.
As he
probably don't even like the title. But it's a title nonetheless because of what he did. But he probably don't even like the title. Like most people who really are conscious don't want to be really your teacher. They don't want to be your light. They like we are plagued
show you
with
how to
being
do
your
it,
light.
and then you go from there. I'm gonna show you what to do, and you go from there.
Yeah, like a lot of us are just plagued with being your light. Not that we even want to be your light. We're plagued with being your light because we are light. We don't. I mean, imagine being a star in the night, and you just want to be a star, but everybody's trying to follow your light, and you might not necessarily know where the hell you going, but right. You bright. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's following you, and you like, I don't want nobody to follow. I'm trying to figure it out myself. And y'all looking at me to be the leader, and it's like, nah, y'all light shine too. Your light shines just the same way I get my light is the same way you get your light. And I think, chasing after other people, deities and gods and concepts, I think that's why people went wrong. There was never, ever nothing wrong with E5. The more you talk about it, the more you bring awareness to it, it just sounds so homogenous across Africa. Because when I hear it, I visualize and I see the Nile Valley system. Mm-hmm. I see it. I see it in my head. When I hear it, I'm hearing the Niger Valley system, the Congo Valley system. I'm hearing all the different valley systems, and I'm like, wow, this stuff is really is the same. It's just different cultural perspectives.
Imagine me as a software engineer. I was like, damn, that's pretty deep. Like you actually have a system that is like a computer that does. And because a lot of times people think, well, that Africa is just so antiquated mentally, and that they were just dumb people. And then when you actually get into their spiritual system, you say, well, they're not as dumb as we thought they were, because that's pretty deep. Like what? Yeah. Oh, okay. You guys had a system that was similar to plasma, quantum physics, whatever. Like what?
Yeah. I heard
plasma science, Merkabahs, all this stuff, and this whole thing. But
and a lot of that comes just because people don't know how to translate the information. Like it's a lot of information out here that you would be surprised is completely syncs up with like particle science, quantum physics and shit like that. That syncs up perfectly and will help you understand it better because it ain't a bunch of just numbers and weights and you know what I'm saying. And that's when if physics and science was taught to people like you teach music or art, like we would have better science.
Well, we would have better science. Their kids that I just showed you a little kid 5 years old reciting.
Mm-hmm. And so I think I'm with Terrence Howard on this one, man. Like if we just release the science and let these kids go ham, stop telling them what they can and can't do. See, and that's the beauty of children. Children don't know what they can't do until you tell them they can't do it.
Can't do it. Exactly.
They believe they can do it. They believe they can do it. If you leave them alone, they believe they can do it.
They can.
And I'm saying, if you leave them alone long enough, they will accomplish that shit. If you just leave them alone long enough.
You know what? I left my daughter alone, and honey, by the time she was through, she was contorting like a gymnastic. She was doing all type of crazy. I just let my daughter kind of just do her thing, and then she'll show me, Mom, look what I can do. You hear that? Look what I can do. Well, imagine look what I can do, and it comes out like, wow. This person, this little baby is like. able to teach yourself how to do a backflip, you know.
Yeah, man. It's
You
like
know, like she taught herself that. I didn't say, hey, do backflips and do all this other like physical stuff. I just don't like get in the way, you know, because I know even my oldest daughter, she's an artist. I let her go upstairs and do her thing. She comes down. Look what I've done. Wow, amazing. And it might be because I'm a Gemini and I'm not like I like am not a very like, you know, I just protect them so they could be in their space doing what they can do, you know.
yeah,
I
and
make sure
like
that the space is safe for them to like just be. You know, I just moved all the tables up the front row because I knew this. I
like
knew my youngest
sometimes
was a physical child
sometimes
and
I
she liked
listen to
to jump
rap battles.
around.
Sometimes I listen to rap battles, right? And I listen to the way these kids put these words together and these metaphors and these analogies and stuff, right? And I'm just like, God damn, if we could just switch the words to atoms and molecules to potentials and things of that nature, like if we could just change those tools and let them do the same thing that they doing with that rap shit, but do it with molecules and atoms. Oh man, oh man.
Yeah.
But you gotta stop telling them what they can't do, and tell them it's better if you just tell them you don't know. You don't know what to do. Lie to them and tell them you don't know what to do. Let's find out.
Well, I was considering taking my youngest and putting her in homeschool so I could like, you know, be more because, you know, I think that the school system it teaches your kid to be either a worker or a slave. They take away that essence of this just, you know, because I remember like the teacher, you know, being so like harsh on her. And she takes it really to heart. Like if she like there was well, she's not doing this, she ain't doing that, she ain't doing it. And I didn't whoop her or nothing. I think that the teacher was like, well, what happened? My daughter was like, no, I'm not gonna whoop me. I just talked to her. I said, listen, you gotta be more this, that, the other. But even the teacher said, well, she's doing better now. But in her mind, she's doing better. But in my mind, I've said, damn it, I can feel like that child essence kind of like leaving her more and more as I like have to scold her about, okay, well, you're not doing this in school, doing that. And so it made me like really think like, do I want to have my child in like a regular education to where
Right.
a teacher because she's not doing everything according to what, you know, she might not want to sit on the thing. She might like want to just daydream and just think about and be and then do some stuff, whatever it is. So it's interesting, you know, how all this stuff like those kids they go to school, they get like taught how to like recite, you know, they get to play, they get to be children, you know, and at the end of the day they're able to recite and remember songs from, you know, just I mean memory, you know, and they're not in regular public school, they're in just training to be a priest. So I don't know. Anyway, this has been a great show today.
Yeah.
Do you want to have final words as we like wrap things up?
Yeah, man. Again, y'all, stay vigilant. Always keep your mind open to new possibilities as reality unfolds in front of you. Never just take everything at face value. Judge things by the spirit. And in this case, when I talk about spirit, I'm talking about the vibrations, the frequencies. You know what I'm saying? Trusting your ability to feel energy and vibrations and to know if they negative or positive to your own person. And you know what I'm saying? Just stay peaceful out there, man. Stay black. You know what I'm saying? And keep up the resistance.
Rashay. So, like with that being said, this was a great show. I played a little bit of that. Please go and watch the whole thing. Let me see. I think I have it on my channel. The one that right now is being kind of like censored, but you know, it's kind of weird. Like I said, I've been getting kind of censored because of like my political stuff. I think I played a video. They said it was like copyright, but what I'm gonna do is from here on is just original content because I realized that they're trying to use that against me on my main channel. What I'll do is I'm gonna release.
Yeah, you talking about when you do reviews of other videos?
Yeah, like so it was weird because I was talking about the draft and this, that, the other. Next thing you know, I played one video and they hit me, and I was like,
I told you before. It's the if you get to talking about like current events, political things, celebrity gossip, they automatically put you on this list.
Yeah, so I'm
And
like,
well, how the hell do everybody else able to make these videos? And I don't know. Like maybe they didn't.
How can they be able to cover this type of stuff and then they don't get like hit, but then my page gets
because they honestly might be just seeking permission. It's not hard to get permission.
And honey, so, I went up the whole ladder of YouTube and they were like, no. And what's crazy is that they actually still allowed the video to play on the vertical version of it, but the horizontal, they were like, no. So that gave me a strike.
I think that's because the vertical one is probably attached to Instagram or some shit, shorts and stuff like that.
I don't know. Whatever it is, they're like really trying to get.
I ain't never got flagged in the short.
Well, no, yeah, the vertical, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I ain't never got flagged in those.
Yeah, it's probably attached to the shorts, and so therefore they're able to like right.
Shit, crazy, man.
But yeah, guys, let me just go here and put the. Please go to my channel and watch the full video of Baba Falakun, where he talks about that thing in full. Let me post it here. Hold on, give me 1 second. Hold on, here it is. Let me just do this. And it will show that whole video. Whatever you might not have seen. If people do get to see this, please go here and watch the full video. Much love, guys. I really appreciate your time and the people that do get to see this. I appreciate you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because we're launching this new channel and we're trying to make something happen with it. It's pretty new. So much love, guys. Peace.
Just when I thought I couldn't find my way out, yeah, I searched the God in me to find my way out. I know it can seem way out, but the Creator flows to and through me from way out. I'm talking way out, yeah. See if you believe in the God in you, it's a better place. Creating the